Hey, it's Kelly. Welcome back to my channel where we talk all about gentle skincare, sometimes self-care, and today we're talking Aestura Atobarrier 365 Cream Renewal. Yes, surprise, this has been reformulated in January of 2024. I came across it by accident. I stumbled across it on Olive Young Global and I was like, no, wait, what? No. And I ordered it. So I am here to share with you all the changes because things have changed with this cream. I feel like that is something that's been happening with a lot of our favorite products recently, right? Things have changed. So I'm going to go over everything that's changed, what stayed the same, and what are my updated thoughts about this cream. If you are so ready to dive in, give the video a big thumbs up and let's get started. So let's dive into the ingredients list and look at what's changed. And if you look at things side by side, you'd be like, okay, I definitely see some tweaks, right? But what do these tweaks mean for the overall formulation and the end product? So a few of the changes that I really noted here, one definitely comes down to the occlusivity factors in the formula, the different ingredients that are contributing to film forming and that ability for that moisturizer, that final layer to kind of seal everything into the skin. And so they were in the old formula using a different mixture of silicones and different polymers to create that film forming quality in the formula. And so while those are still at play in the new version, the ingredients that they're using, the way that they're using them, the combination of ingredients has changed. So they're no longer using the carnauba wax in the new formula, which was a nice occlusive ingredient. They're still using the polymers, but they're using slightly different ones. And they were using two silicone ingredients that really helped to create a nice lightweight silky feel, but an occlusivity on the skin. And they've exchanged those out for good old plain dimethicone, which is a very common ingredient. It's easy to formulate with, and it does have those same properties of being able to hug everything in and kind of help fight transepidermal water loss. Something else that I've noticed that they've added to the new formula is an ingredient called betaine, which is a hydrating sugar molecule. It helps to attract and bind hydration into the skin. Now, there were some other hydrating sugar molecules in the original formula or the past formula, but they have maintained those and in addition have added in betaine. So we have a new hydrating ingredient added to the mix. The ceramides have been tweaked here as well. You may know that the Aestura Atobarrier line claims to contain ceramides, which help to fortify your skin's moisture barrier. And that's really the big claim and the aim of this moisturizer is to really help aid that skin barrier function with the use of ceramides. Now, I know a lot of people will look at the ingredients list of the past version of this cream and will be kind of confused because you're going to scan those ingredients looking for the word ceramide and you're not going to find it because the cream doesn't use like ceramide NP or ceramide, AP. What they're actually using is a biomimetic ceramide that is actually a lab-made ceramide. And so it has a really complicated, unrecognizable, hard to pronounce name, which is hydroxypropyl bispalmitamide, MEA. And that's always the one that I look for is the capital MEA at the end of the word. This is a ceramide PC104. And so that is what this cream is using for the ceramide content. And that is why people get confused. Why are they calling it a ceramide cream and I don't see ceramides on the ingredients list? That is why. And so I've actually seen this happen before with other creams that use this ingredient and claim ceramides. I think that in the internet community, because everybody's a critic now, right? People are probably questioning where the ceramides, not understanding that they are present in the formula under a different name that they may not be familiar with. And so they have added in ceramide NP. So we still have the biomimetic ceramide PC104, but they have added in the word ceramide lower on the list, ceramide NP, I think just to appease the people who don't know this other type of ceramide. They don't recognize this name. And so they have that instant, familiar gratification truly of, okay, it says it's a ceramide cream. I turn the bottle around and there are the ceramides on the list. Aestura is also a cream that claims to use a liposome technology for the ceramides to deliver them deeper into the skin and also to make those ceramides a little bit more efficacious and available for use use for the skin. Some of the ingredients that they use to create the liposomes in the formula have been tweaked. How much, I'm not really sure, but I can report that it hasn't changed the texture of those liposomes. You know, the beads in the cream, you can see the little flakes of ceramide liposomes in the cream. That hasn't changed at all. The texture, the feel, the way that they melt onto the skin. They haven't become hard or drag. You don't really detect them as you spread the cream onto your skin. And so that's really what I can tell you and detect as a, you know, skincare enthusiast reviewer. I've noticed that those ingredients have been tweaked a little bit, perhaps to make the liposomes a little bit more effective for the skin. But what's really important here, I think, is that it hasn't affected the way that those flakes or those beads or those liposomes in the cream feel on the skin. And I've saved potentially the biggest ingredient change for the last part of this segment, and that is the addition of niacinamide. Yes, I am very frustrated about this because I recently made a video about no niacinamide products, and I included this cream, the original version, in the video because it was one of those blessedly niacinamide-free moisturizers that's actually really great for your skin barrier. It is not a bad ingredient, but it's an issue with it being so common and used across so many different skincare product types. And so to have a moisturizer that was functioning so well without this ingredient, to now have it in there, it's more of just read the room and like, how are people feeling about this ingredient right now? People aren't feeling great about it. So the addition, I think, is a huge disappointment for a lot of folks. But as I said, it does have evidence for working for your skin's moisture barrier. It would make sense to include it. I don't think that it's like a huge upgrade to the cream. It is a major change. And it's an important one for a lot of, like I said, a lot of folks to know, because for the longest time it was a niacinamide-free cream. No longer is. So let's talk texture. This is an area where the cream has noticeably changed. Now, I do have footage here of the original or the old version of the Aestura Atobarrier cream, and you'll notice that it does have that traditional cream-like texture, and you will notice those ceramide capsules, or the flakes, they call them the Derma-On soft capsules within the formula. And as you spread it onto your skin, you're going to not feel those capsules at all. They aren't hard. They do melt right into the skin and disperse really beautifully. But you'll notice that it has kind of like a balm cream-like texture. You can feel that this dives deep into the skin to really comfort and nourish and moisturize it. But it has this silky kind of quality, this sort of soft demi-satin kind of quality to it, that it feels like all the moisture is happening inside of your skin, but on the top, your skin is not greasy, it's not shiny, it's not weighted down, it's not like a moisturizer that sits on top. The new formula, the texture has changed, and I think one of the biggest changes that I've detected in this, while it looks the same at first when you squeeze it out of the tube, the capsules do, I think, appear slightly bigger maybe in the new formula. But as I mentioned a few times already, the capsules have not changed in texture. You still will not feel them on the skin. They do still melt in the cream really, really well. And in fact, I feel like in this newer version, the capsules actually melt into the skin a lot faster than the past formulation. And I do find that this cream feels lighter. It doesn't have that true medium weight feel that the past version had, but it also feels very wet on the skin. This was weird, and I'm attributing this to the addition of the betaine. It could be due to a couple of other ingredient tweaks as well, but it's so strange at how much of a watery, hydrating, but wet sensation you feel as you're spreading this across your skin. The original just did not have. And I do feel an emolliency to this. I feel a slip, like a rich slip to this, alongside of that wetter kind of feel. But I do feel like this doesn't absorb or dive as deep into the skin as the past version does. But I also feel like some of this cream does sit a little bit more on top of the skin. And you'll notice in the finish that it's a little bit glossier, a little bit shinier than the past version was, where the past version kind of just like smoothed everything out and it just kind of like sealed everything in. This newer version is adding a little bit more gloss and dew. It's a little bit more shiny on top. And I am feeling a bit more of the emolliency on top too. It does still feel a little wet. It does still feel a little rich on top of my skin. So it's kind of a weird change where it's like it feels a little, I hate to say greasier, and more hydrating at the same time, greasier and hydrating at the same time, but it's lighter than the original, but it's not as nourishing at the same time. Something has really changed with the way that this formula is interacting, at least with my skin in my testing period, that has really changed it so much. And finally, let me address the occlusivity factor of this. I feel like the past formulation was just the right balance, where it, like I said, for those who are suffering with dehydration, it's enough to fight the transepidermal water loss, but not so much that it's like overwhelming and too heavy for your skin. Whereas the new version now, the occlusivity is even lighter than it was before. So I feel like it's not as good at fighting the dehydration. It's just overall, I think, a much lighter iteration of the Aestura cream. You know, definitely notice a little bit of change with the packaging. So that's when it's going to be the biggest way for you to know if you're getting the Renewal or if you're getting the past version. I have a feeling a lot of retailers are still selling through their stock of the older cream. So definitely look on the package. You'll be able to see the biggest change here is the Derma On logo of the tube here is added to the front now. Of the newer, the 2024 version. So that's going to be an easy way for you to tell which one you've received. But let me tell you, pretty disappointed because my hopes were it hadn't changed too much. And as I've gone through everything, you've noticed that it's actually changed just enough for it to be a meaningful change, right? Like, I'm not saying that they've completely ruined the cream. They've completely changed it. They've tweaked it just enough that this is no longer working for my skin the way that the original version did. You know, I reviewed the original version in January of 2023. I was using that product through the coldest, harshest months of winter where my skin, which is combination but can go quite dry in the winter and a little bit more oily in the summer, and I'm so dry and dehydrated in the winter, the original Aestura cream was working really well for me at that time. So it's actually kind of a nice way to test this cream now in January of 2024 where my skin is kind of at its driest point and in those same conditions as when I was first loving the original, and say, hey, this is not enough for my skin anymore. And that was the biggest disappointment. I mean, just putting it on my face the first time, I could tell how much more light it was, but yet still like how it was kind of sitting on top of my skin a little bit more than the original version had. But within a few hours, I could feel the dehydration creeping in because this just does not have enough occlusivity for my skin to fight the transepidermal water loss, as I've mentioned a few times now. So I had to go top the rest of my skincare off with a different moisturizer just a few hours later. So that is just like the biggest red flag there, right? This is definitely lighter. It's much less occlusive. But the way that the texture has changed too, what made the original cream like that perfect, like checks all the boxes, like kind of unicorn type of moisturizer, right? Like it's medium weight, it's moisturizing inside, but not on top. It's not heavy, it's not greasy, it's not something that is gonna like be weird with my sunscreen and makeup and everything. It just like smooths and seals everything, but doesn't overwhelm my skin and has all the ceramides and helps my skin barrier. Yeah, I mean, I think that this is still, as I said, I think this is still a good ceramide and barrier supportive cream, but I just don't think it's going to work for those who are suffering with a bit more dryness and a bit more dehydration on their skin like I do. If you're like leaning a little more oily, a little less dehydrated, you might still like this. If you're a true combination skin type, I think you might enjoy this. I think if you have what I call a balanced skin type, or what, you know, most people know as a normal skin type, you will also enjoy this too. I think the way that they've tweaked it to be just ever so slightly lighter, I think will really appeal to those types of skin types, right? Those folks. But like if you're like me and your skin shifts dramatically to a more dry state, a more, you know, dehydrated state, this is not going to work. If you have truly dry skin, this is not going to work for you. And so that little bit of balance that the original formula achieved, it's switched so much to the other side now that I think I probably will only be able to use this in the warmer months. And I don't even know if I'm going to love it in the warmer months because that little extra filminess or richness at the top of the skin's not my uber duper favorite. As much as I love a shiny skin finish, you know I love it. I don't like it when it feels like things are sitting on top of my skin, and there's just a little bit of that with this that I don't love. So quickly, the pros and cons here. As I've mentioned a few times, I think this is still a great ceramide cream, and I think for some folks, it's going to be a pro that this is a slightly lighter version of the original Aestura cream. It'll open it up for different skin types. But there are going to be some cons here, and of course, I've covered a lot of them. The step down in occlusivity and the step down in the moisturization, I think is going to be a big one. If this used to be your holy grail, it's a possibility that this is no longer going to be your favorite moisturizer. It's a possibility that you've lost this to reformulation, which is, sad, right? Of course, the addition of niacinamide, while on its face not a bad ingredient at all, and definitely helps to support the skin barrier. The addition of it, it's just like, it's in everything. So many people are trying to take it out of their routine, or at least lessen it. And so to have a product reformulated to add it in, not great, honestly. It just takes something that was more unique for not using that ingredient off the table for a lot of folks, and makes this less, like I said, less unique, less special, and a little bit more common. And finally, as I mentioned, the price. This has always been a pricey product. For the amount that you get, 80 milliliter, but about between $30 to $40, depending on where you're purchasing it from. It's pretty pricey, right? That is not anything that's changed. I want to be clear, the price hasn't been raised on this product at all. It's always been pricey. And so I'd like to point that out as a potential con. So my final thoughts. The old formulation, the previous formulation of the Atobarrier 365 cream, I think I would have given it a 9 out of 10. And I really am not giving it a 10 out of 10, purely just that one point is knocked off for the price, right? So it was almost perfect in a way. It was a cream I really, really loved. Was so happy to recommend. My skin enjoyed it so much. However, now that it has been renewed or reformulated, I have updated my rating to reflect a 6 out of 10. And some of those points just fell off because I'm salty. I'm somebody who is probably have lost this cream to reformulation. As I mentioned, I'll probably be able to use this in the summer, but there are things that have changed about this that just, it has lost its specialness. It's lost a lot of its uniqueness. This does not stand out to me in the many moisturizers that I've used. Some I've loved, some I haven't, some that fall in the middle. This just kind of falls in the middle. It's getting lost in the pack. It's not unique. It's not special. It's not really standing out in any way. The way that they've reformulated it, it's like a lot of other creams on the market, and it's still pricey. And so, I've definitely knocked a lot of points off of it. It is still a good product, I think, but it's no longer special and it's no longer unique. So another one bites the dust. As I mentioned at the top of the video, I think we've been seeing a lot of products change, and I think many of us have lost at least one of our favorite products to a reformulation, and it's not really fun. I am curious to know, though, if you've tried this Renewal, whether you've tried the older version or not. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on this particular formula, so let me know in the comments below. If you love this review, it was helpful to you, but you haven't hit subscribe yet, please, I'd be so honored if you'd come join our community, especially if you love K-beauty and diving into ingredients. That's what my channel is all about. Turn on notifications so you're never out of the loop. I really do hope that you are healthy, happy, and safe wherever you are in the world. I love you so much. Thanks for being here with me today, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.